guys, I hope you all are doing well. My name is Sionela Magula. You guys can call me Sio for short. This is Sio's Lifestyle, and I want to say welcome to my YouTube channel. I thank you guys for those who keep on coming back. This channel is fairly new. I appreciate the support, and I hope to the people who are clicking on this video or who are coming across the channel for the very first time, I hope they will consider subscribing. I hope they're gonna like this video, and I hope they can support the channel and stick around, and and hopefully when I post more videos, then you'll click on the videos, you'll watch, you will basically engage in the videos. So today I'm doing something a bit different. My first video, I had done a vlog. I just vlogged a day in my life. So this time I decided to just do a sit-down video. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the process of buying a property, whether it be a home or whether it be for business, but basically I'm just gonna focus on talking about the process of buying a property. And I believe this is going to be a very insightful video, guys, and I'm saying this from experience. So this year, I recently bought my first property, which was quite an achievement for me, and also a blessing, probably I'd say one of the biggest testimonies for me this year in 2024. So I recently bought my first property, and so basically now I just want to share the experience that I've had. I know a couple of people, one or two people closer to me, they have asked, they want to know more about the process. But obviously you can tell someone here and there, but I just felt like, let me just do a video, and it's actually a good video idea to just do, even for other people, for the public, because I know a lot of people don't know some of this information or some of the things we're going to talk about or things that we're going to mention. So now I have actually made some notes. So we are going to just discuss. I'm going to take you through all the process that I followed, and from basically start to finish, but I'll try and also summarize it, but also not leaving out the important aspects or the important parts of what you need to know. So very important. I think this video is just going to be helpful to someone maybe who's probably buying the house through a bond or via a bond, because that's the process that I've been through and what I can share information about. And guys, just a disclaimer, I am not a property professional or a bond originator. I am, however, just doing this video just to share the experience, to share what I've been through. And I think this is going to be very helpful, guys. It's going to be very helpful and very insightful. So if you really, maybe you are someone who's considering buying a property maybe in the near future, or someone who is in that process, or is probably going to be buying a property soon or in the near future, then maybe this is the kind of video you might want to share with them, and that can help them. So let's get right into the video. So the first thing, so I'm just gonna sort of made it like in point form. So the very first point that I wanted to mention, it's basically before you buy a property, okay, especially if you are considering buying a property via a bond or through financing, right? So the very first important point, you need to find out how much you qualify for. So that's the first step. Step number one, find out how much you qualify for, or how much the bank can approve you for, right? Basically, what is the value of the property that your income or that you can afford, right? So, and that you can get that information via a bond originator. Okay, so there are so many bond originators. I happened to, so when I was viewing, I viewed like a few properties before getting a bond originator. And that's because, guys, I honestly didn't know I was supposed to first find out how much I qualify for. I was just viewing some properties, right? And then one of the, actually, So what happened is I didn't do the physical viewing first. I was looking online, online on Property 24 or just property. I was looking online on Property 24 for some properties. I basically looked in the range of apartment because, guys, I am based in Cape Town, so properties are very expensive in Cape Town, especially if you're going to consider buying a property maybe by yourself, or so if it's just one income, so it's very difficult to actually be able to, I don't know, able to get maybe a bigger house or a standalone house, okay? Because for me, originally, I was hoping for a standalone house, a 3-bedroom house, something big with enough space and all of that. However, because I was buying my first property by myself and alone, and I only had my work income, only one income to consider, so that sort of limited my ability to afford standalone houses. So I could only afford an apartment, especially in the areas that I was looking into buying, because safety is very important. So I just looked in safe areas, or areas. Basically, I first looked in the south, but in the south the properties were so expensive. Those who know, they know. So I then ended up looking in the north. But however, when I looked in the north, at least I could afford some properties within that range that I was approved for. So basically what I'm saying is that, so through that process, so I was looking online, and I remember talking to one of the agents, "Hi, I want to view this," and then one of them asked me, "Have you been pre-approved?" I said, "No, I have not been pre-approved. How do I get pre-approval?" As I was viewing these properties online on Property 24. So the agent then said, "Okay, let me show you the numbers of the there's a lady, a bond originator, who can do your pre-approval for you." And then I asked this fee come at a charge? He said, "No, this is completely free of charge. Only when you do get the property that you like and you do get a bond with the bank, I think only when you commit to something, only then they get paid. The bond originator gets a fee, right? They get a fee via the bank, the people who are going to be financing you. However, no money was coming from me. I was not going to pay for them to see how much I approved for. So I reached out to the lady who then assisted, based on the numbers I got from the agent, to just quickly call the bond originator. So I called the bond originator, and then I forwarded her my details. And obviously, I think they wanted my pay slip, 3 months pay slip or a month pay slip, my bank statement and my ID, and then I also had to fill in just some a small form, basically. So basically, they then looked, they took that information, they then looked at my profile, they looked at the money I was getting, my income, what's in my bank statement, my expenses. They look at everything. So in the form, you basically do disclose, okay, these are my expenses, this is my income, or your total income, your expenses. And then from there, they looked, obviously they verify that actually this is the income, because you would have shared your pay slip and your bank statement and your ID number. And I believe they also do a credit check. I believe they do that as well, because they need to assess your ability to be able to pay. But also, I think that also comes in when you go and you apply for a bond. So the first step, so the bond originator, when I shared my stuff, my details or my support, they then checked based on that. So after that, they gave me a form or that indicated how much I qualify for, and it also gave an idea with the interest rates, prime +1, prime -1, and at prime rate, this is how much you expect to pay monthly, and this is the value of the property. So I'll make an example. Let's say you wanted to buy a property worth 100,000. So they say, okay, you can afford to get a property for 100,000 based on your portfolio, and because the property is 100,000, then the interest at then they give you the interest rate. Okay, let's say the prime interest rate, and then they give you the the installment you expect to pay. Let's say, and then they'll say, okay, the term is 20 years. This is how much you expect to pay at this interest rate for this value. and then they had like a table with a few options, even prime -1 and prime +1, right? So that's how they gave me that information. Based on that, then when I knew, okay, this is how much I qualify for or I can get approval for, then my next advice would obviously be, if they say you qualify for 100K, you would rather go low, right? Don't buy a property that is worth exactly 100K. And the reason why I'm saying that is because remember, when you buy a property, especially for me, because I had to buy like an apartment because I couldn't afford a standalone, or I couldn't qualify for a standalone, right? So remember, in an apartment, there's going to be levies, rates, some costs. And generally, so basically, I would advise that don't get a property that is worth exactly what you qualify for. Rather get something low. Rather get a shop or get a property that is less than 100K. Maybe for 80, 90,000 Rand, rather get that property. And I'm not saying don't view houses that are around 100K. You can view them. However, when you put in an offer, then you can put an offer maybe at a lesser value, 95K or 80K or 90K, and see if they accept the offer. So that would be my first thing, right? That's how you go about it. So first one, bond originator must assist you to see how much you qualify for, and then based on that. And most importantly, rather get something that is below the value that you have been approved for, because when you move into the property, then there's going to be more costs: water, electricity, sewage, levies, all of these extra costs, which are not included in the bond cost. So that's a very important. Those extra costs are not included in the bond cost. They're going to come from your pocket. So if they're looking at, because they generally give, I feel like they just give you the highest amount. So rather go low to be on the safe side, to be able to cater for all these other costs, right? Okay, so point number 2, then after you have received approval, you're notified of how much you qualify for, then the second point that is very important, then you go and you look for the property. And when you look for the property, guys, this is where the research comes in. You have to research the area you're buying, okay? Luckily for me, as much as I bought my property this year in 2024, I had already had an idea of the areas I was looking into buying last year, 2023. I would just look around, even when I was renting, because I was considering, because rent in Cape Town is quite expensive, so rent kept on increasing. So I was also looking to downgrade, because initially, guys, I had thought that I'm gonna buy my first property or my first house or my first apartment when I turn 30 years. So I was not in any way planning to buy my first property this year, because I'm only turning 30 next year in 2025. So I was not planning to buy. So I was still looking like, oh, okay, maybe I need to just move to a cheaper place, because my place was becoming so expensive, because staying in the south and in suburbs, and it's expensive because it's closer to town, right? So I was not looking into buying at that time, right? So I was just looking, but I had an idea these are the areas. And at the time, I was only looking at the south. But then when early this year, I decided, you know what, it's time, because I've been in Cape Town for a good 2+ years. So because I came in 2022, so I decided, I think it's time. It is time for me to make this purchase, and it's something, it was just sitting so heavy in me that I need to just buy. I need to just do this. I'm not gonna wait for other things. Let me just do this. So that's how I went about it. So second step is look for the property, and when you look for the property, research the area. Is it a good area? When you look at the property, or when you go and now you're viewing the property, look around the area. Is it saved? Try to get some information. Why is the property being sold? Lucky for me, when I bought my property, right, I I had asked because I could see that because I bought in a complex. They say it's an estate, but I don't know what's the difference between a complex and an estate. But yeah, they call it an estate. But I bought in a complex, and then in this complex, a lot of the units were so nice. It was so beautiful. It was well maintained. It was taken care of. So I just wanted to find out, why is the owner selling? So I was told the owner was selling. So the owner was using this property as an investment, basically renting it out. And she was the first owner of this property, the owner. So these were like one of the, I would say, newer, not really modern. It's quite basic, but it's like newer, it needed less maintenance. So the owner, basically, they have other properties, so they decided to let go of this one and sell this one so that they could free up some money. That's what I was told, right? So also based on that, it made sense to me, because when I got to understand how much the tenant was renting, the tenant that was staying in this property right before I moved, or before the property transferred over to my name, I got to understand that, okay, I don't think, like, it made sense, because I looked at the renter, I was like, yo, this guy was having a good time here, because the rental was like so affordable, like way less than what I was paying where we stayed before moving, right? So I was like, okay, it makes sense, because then everything is going up, but the rent was like so much less, yeah, so it made sense. And the tenant had been here for 4 years, and apparently he really, really liked this place. Made sense why why the owner would sell, because obviously they were not making probably much money as before, and it made sense that, okay, let them go, they must let go of this property. So just research the area, research the property, research the cost, find more information about the cost, what levies are there, how much are the levies, how much are other owners, if it's a commune, how much is everyone paying for levies, rates, or all these extra costs, the maintenance costs, how much is everything. Just having a good idea, do your research, and obviously, just do your research. That's what I would say. And then obviously you are still looking at the property around about less than what you have been approved for, so that you're able to afford all these extra costs that come with buying a home or with maintenance of your home. Okay, so the third step would be signing the OTP. Okay, so basically the third step is you have to get an offer to purchase. I had a meeting with my agent with the offer to purchase to basically discuss the offer to purchase form. There's quite a lengthy document that the agent will have a meeting with you to take you through the offer to purchase. That is when now you as a buyer, because I was the buyer in this instant, I'm saying, okay, I'm interested in buying this property or this plot, and now I have to sign the paperwork and put in an offer. Like I said, if the property is worth 100K, do you want to give it 100? Or if the seller is selling the property for 100K, are you offering the owner 100K? That's what you would put in that form. Or are you offering the seller 95K? Okay. In my case, I'll be very open, because I really, really liked the apartment. I really, really liked it. And it was just one of those where in the complex, I think it was one of the most affordable ones. And it was just in the perfect location. It's quite exclusive. So for me, because I loved it, and in this complex, it was like one of the most affordable, I decided to give the seller the asking price, because I did not want the seller to consider to wait and see if they could get more. I just wanted to give the seller the asking price. So I offered the seller the asking price. So that is the meeting where you meet up with the agent to discuss the OTP, which was the offer to purchase, and then you'd sign and make your offer to the seller. Then the agent will then go to the seller and say, there's an offer to purchase. Are you accepting this? And the seller would sign that document, right? And then from there, once they sign that document, they accept it, then that paperwork is going to go to the transfer attorneys. And the transfer attorneys that we use in my case basically work closer to the agent. So the information went to the transfer attorneys. Okay. So based on that, so that would be step 3. And then step 4, as I said, if you are buying via a bond, right? Remember your bond originator would have given you that approval document to say this is how much so-and-so qualifies for, this is how much you qualify for. So in that instant, then the bond originates. So now that you have found your property and there's, you've signed the OTP, then you go to the bond originator. Your bond originator, I told the lady, I was so excited because looking, guys, I think I started looking, like seriously viewing to buy when I got my the approval form. I got my approval form to say I qualify for so much. I got it like beginning April. I think it was maybe 1st or 3rd April 2024. So I spent the whole of April viewing. I was up and down. I was up and down because also remember the approval form, it expires after 3 months. So you need to find a property and start the process in 3 months. Otherwise it's gonna expire. Because after 3 months, then if you maybe don't find any property to buy within the 3 months period, then that means after 3 months, or let's say 6 months down the line, you decide you want to buy, that approval is no longer valid, that paperwork. So you need to go again and basically go again and get pre-approved again or get pre-approval again. Makes sense because maybe your financial status or your situation would have changed financially. Maybe you have other bills, or maybe you changed your car and all these other things. So you never know. So it can change like your financial status. So hence it's only valid for 3 months. So for me, I did not want to go through that process again. So at home, I spent so much time looking, right? I spent a lot of time looking. And when I looked, I found the property that I like end of April. So it took me about a good month. That last week of April, I think around the 26th, that's when I signed the OTP. And then immediately I went to my bond originator and I said, I found a place, I'm ready. And because there was hardly a lot of maintenance to do at the place that I found. So then I said, okay, then let me, then she said to me, okay, then that's great news. Then they needed more details to apply for to look for a bond now. So the bond originator, step 4, the bond originator, you go back to the bond originator, after signing the OTP, and then you look so that the bond originator can look or shop for financing for you. They need to look for a bank that is willing to give you a good bond with a good interest rate. That's what happened. So I went to my bond originator. They then looked. They went to the banks, all the banks. They can look at all the banks, in South Africa, shopping for the best, should I say, for the best bond or the best home loan for you, home loan deal with the good rate, because you want a good home loan that offers a low, at the low rate. Prime minus is preferable, which is what I got, which was amazing. A prime minus interest rate. So, and also the advice I could give there, because generally a lot of the banks, they come back within a day or two, this is what we offer you, and they can offer you guys. And also another thing I need to mention is that if you are considering buying a house or a property, there's other costs like your transfer fees and your bond registration costs and all these other paperwork costs and all of that. Those costs, guys, I'm just sharing this with you because I feel like it's very important. I didn't know. I thought you had to raise the financing or the finances for those costs upfront and pay them cash. So those bond costs or these extra costs or the lawyer's fees, you don't have to have them in hard cash. If you don't have them in hard cash, that money can be capitalized into your bond. And this was something I learned earlier on this year from one of my colleagues. And I think that was another thing that was sort of holding me back from considering to buy a property, because I didn't have like 100K or 90K saved up to basically pay cash for these extra costs to buy a house. So that was something that was holding me up, that, you know what, I don't have this right now. I need to first raise this. And then once I've raised this amount of money, then only I will consider buying. But when I learned, no, you don't have to have it in cash. This, if you don't have, all these extra costs can be capitalized to your bond. However, I must say that if those costs are capitalized to your bond, at times, then it can push your interest rate up. You know, at the banks, they say, oh, you're probably a bit risky because you're not willing to put in anything, and then they charge you a higher interest. So I had a couple of banks come back. Some were willing to cover all the costs, but they were giving me a higher rate. Some were not willing to cover the costs, quite a few actually. So one was willing with a high rate. One wanted to cover a portion of the cost, which means I needed to raise the other amount. And the other ones were not willing. Others were giving less, which made sense because I didn't bank with them. But to my surprise, the bank that I bank with also was not covering everything. They wanted to cover like a portion of the cost, but they were giving 100% of the bond cost. So that's what made me switch banks. So I ended up finding a really good deal. I'm not going to mention the bank's name because I'm not promoting their, this is not a paid promotion from them. So I ended up finding a really, really good deal with one of the banks. They gave me a prime minus rate, and then they said they were willing to basically finance my bond, and they were going to cover all the costs at a prime minus interest rate, which was amazing. The only thing I had to do is switch my banking over to them. So which I did because it saved me a lot of interest, guys. It saved me a lot of interest because remember, if the interest rate is high, then you pay more interest if you get a prime plus. So getting a prime minus interest rate, that saved me a lot of interest. So I opted to go with them, and I switched my banking over to them, which I was happy to do. Okay, so number 5, like I said, you're getting this. If you're getting this, point number 5 is that the bond lawyers or bond attorneys will call you in for a meeting to discuss the contract so that you can sign the bond contract. That's the contract then that obviously is binding, that you have to pay the monthly installment to the bank for however long you took the bank for, whether it's 10 years, 20 years. The norm in South Africa, people buy houses or the period is generally 20 years. So basically that's the next step. You have to go into the meeting with the bond registration attorneys and go through your contract, your bond contract. They're going to discuss it with you. This is the bond contract that you got now with the bank, which is what you need to sign and basically commit that this is the installment you're going to pay monthly, like the debit order. So that is a contract. And then step 6, guys, basically, before you get the house transferred over to your name, and I can say there's some work that needs to be done in the house before you get your certificates of the property, before the property is transferred over from seller to the buyer. If there is, I don't know, let's say maybe the stove is not working, or the plugs are not working, or some electrical issues, or there's a problem with the geyser, everything needs to be fixed before that house, and it must be in working order before the house is sold over or transferred over to the buyer. So step 6 would be the work that needs to be done in the house in order for you to get your COCs, your certificates. So that obviously is something that the agent will arrange, and they have their own people who come and do the work, the electrical work, to make sure your lights, your plugs, everything is working. All these other certificates, like if you stay in an estate or a complex, you get a levy certificates. Those kind of certificates might be issued. There must be a plumber who's going to do the plumbing work. Those kind of certificates, plumbing certificates, need to be issued, electrical certificates, and all of that. So basically there's that work that needs to be done on the property to make sure that the property is in good order before it is transferred over to you, the buyer. So, and then step 7, once the certificates are received, then step 7 would be the lodging of the property. Step 7 is the lodgement of the property. Basically, they go and register the bond, or transfer the bond to your name. This is all done at the deeds office. When everything is in order, the lawyers have looked at everything, then they take your file, they take everything, and then they go register the bond at the deeds office, and the transfer is registered into the buyer's name or into your name at the deeds office. And that process generally takes about 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks. I think it took way less, in 5 days. It was just quickly done. Everything was done. That is much quicker. So basically those are the steps. And then when it's registered at the deeds office or transferred in your name, then you as the seller, then the property is yours. It becomes your property. Then you get the keys, and the keys are handed over to you by your agent. I hope that makes sense. So based on that, I can just share some insight or like some of the things that I also learned in addition to these points. So the whole process so from the time that you make an offer, from that time, it's roughly about 3 months if there's no issues. It's roughly about 3 months. Because with me as well, with my property, I made that offer. And then when I made the offer, and then the transfer attorneys were given the instruction, when they got the instruction, because I made the offer like end of April, around about 26, I think, and then the seller, she had to send back the offer, I think on the 29th or 30th. But when the lawyers got the instruction on the 2nd of May, then they were busy with everything. On the 26th of July, the property was transferred and everything was registered in my name. So that process took about 3 months. However, I would say there was an extra month, in the whole of April, me looking, and it's not included in the 3 months. So I'd say roughly about 3 to 6 months, the whole entire process. But once, the OTP is signed and the transfer lawyers get the OTP, it's normally about a 3-month process. If there's no issues or hiccups, if there's massive issues, I'll make an example, maybe there's a seller and then the seller passes on, or there's other thing, or it's a deceased estate, it can take longer, up to 6 months. Others even say longer than that. But in my case, everything was smooth. Everybody was fine. We were just pushing. And guys, one thing I can tell you is that when it came to the issuing of the certificates, there was a bit of a delay there. It was always excuses from the electrician, excuses from the plumbers, the guys who were doing the work. They would say that they're doing the work, but they were not issuing the certificates. And without the certificates, we cannot go and lodge the bond. So I had to intervene, because at the end of July, I had to move out of my place. So I didn't want to be homeless. So I intervened, and I would call the electrician, I'd call the plumber, I'd call the agent, I was on their neck until they made sure to issue my certificates. So I would definitely say that, yes, I've put down these steps, but 3 months is a long time, or 3 to 6 months. So it does get quite stressful. But also at that time, I feel like for me, the process was not that bad. Yes, it was stressful. What made it stressful is that I had to give notice at my previous place where I was renting, and I knew by 31st or the 1st of August, I was supposed to be out of the place. So when it was towards the end of July, that's when I was on everybody's neck, because I was like, guys, I don't want to be homeless. I need everything done. And the delay was in issuing the certificates, which when I intervened and, pushed the guys, they did the work, completed the work, and they issued the certificates. And then by the 26th of July, it was all done. And I got my keys and everything was transferred over, and I moved the next day. I didn't waste time. But guys, those are the points. Well, that is the important information that I feel like people need to know if you're considering buying a property. And a lot of these things I did not know. I only found out on the way, or as I was in the process. But if you guys maybe have any question, or you feel that this video was insightful or very helpful to you, or there's something that you're unsure of, you can please drop a comment. I'm happy to help or like answer some of your questions. Yeah, and you know, I'll try my best to get back to you or to answer the questions if there's a question or there's something unclear. So, but roughly, this was the process that I went through, and I must say it is worth it. You know, I wish I had actually done this a lot sooner, but unfortunately I was not ready. I mean, you know, life has just its own way. So basically, I wish I had done it a bit sooner. If I could have, I would have done it a bit sooner. I bought my first property much sooner. Because guys, it is worth it. Yes, I know it's expensive and there's extra costs. However, I would do it all over again. You know, it's so nice to have your own place. You can, you know, how we found this place is completely different to what it is now. Not in a lot, but I mean, there's so many things that we did. You know, we changed the stove because when we came in, the stove was like old and rusty and yeah, and there was, you know, there were just things that needed to be changed. There were no mirrors. We put on our mirrors. We painted the bedroom. So it's so nice to have your own space that you can just fix up here and there or modify it to suit you. However, in a rented apartment, you can't always do that. And remember, the more you invest in your property or you make it look nice and look good, then it also increases the value of the property. That increases the value of the property. And I tell you guys, you know, immediately after I bought my property, after we moved here, these properties are no longer worth what they were then. I was shocked to see the other day how much some of the units are currently selling. The value has increased like massively. And that's why I'm saying, because property appreciates in value or increases in value, it really is worth it. It's worth the investment. And you know, this one is my first property, and the plan is I'm definitely going to have another. I'm going to get another one. Not now. When I'm done paying this one off, then the aim is I'll get another one. So this is something I would recommend or encourage anyone to do. And I hope this information is going to help someone, because I know sometimes we don't do things because we think, oh, I don't have the money, or I don't have those once-off costs or the lawyer's fees and whatever. But actually, you know, other banks are willing to assist and other banks are willing to do that, and then that just delays you another 5 years thinking that you're saving for these costs. And I feel like if you're doing it by yourself, then it's not easy to raise that kind of money, you know. But if maybe you're doing it with a partner or someone, then it can be a bit easier to raise those kind of costs. Yeah, but you know, in my instant, it was a bit different because, you know, this was my first one that I was getting by myself. So I didn't have that kind of money. But little did I know, this could all be capitalized in the bond. And of course, you know, most of the banks, they do open bonds, which means if you have extra money from your bonuses or whatever it is, or your extra gig or your other forms of income, then you can always pay extra and quickly pay your bond or pay your bond sooner. But anyway, I don't want to ramble a lot. I just want to say thank you so much for watching up until this far. And I hope this video has been helpful or insightful to anyone watching. Yeah, I really enjoyed just shooting this and sharing the information or the little bit that I've learned in my experience of buying a property. And I hope someone will find it insightful. And if anyone has any questions, then you just let me know. We can keep the conversation going in the comment section. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Please do like the video. Please do comment. Please do consider subscribing, and please turn on your post notification bell so that you can get notified every time I post a video. Thank you. Keep well. Take care. Bye-bye, and see you in the next one.